Okay, I'm going to start with a disclaimer, particularly after the two classes this morning, the first two classes, and I'll just let you read it for yourself here. Give you a moment. There's a lot of beauty in Haiti. You know, there's paintings like this all over, just on walls. And the natural beauty of Haiti, there's a lot of greenery. It rains a lot there. It's a tropical environment. So it's a beautiful, can be a beautiful place. And then there's a lot of this. Oh yeah, let's bring these down. It's a motorcycle in a hole in the street with all the traffic going around it. You didn't laugh. You're supposed to go, oh my goodness, look at that. Yeah, that was just on the way someplace. And there's a lot of this, things like this. After a rainstorm, a lot of flooding, you see all the trash there. That's typical everywhere, garbage. And there's the discarded of society that some would consider human garbage and not worth anything. But what I want to do is share with you some hopeful things and beautiful things that Jesus is letting us be involved in. So, welcome to Haiti. And I'll use a little Creole here. Bonsoir, comment nous y? You can see the translation there. You might notice a connection with French, if you know any French. I was asked to give an update on what Meal a Day and Peace Project are doing in Haiti. Moins connaissant un peu pour opportunité à. So, thanks very much for this chance. So, I've already had somebody ask me, where is Haiti? Well, it's really not that far. Here's how I get there. I take a 2.5-hour drive to O'Hare in a rental car, then a 3-hour flight to Miami, then an 1.5 to Port-au-Prince. It usually takes 2 days because all the connections are difficult. And so sometimes we stay overnight in either Charlotte or Miami, depending on whether you're coming from Ohio, or like Beth and Chris do, or from Bloomington. But why? Why are we doing anything in Haiti? How did we end up there? Well, let me give you the 90-second version. I felt that, as I was growing up, that Christadelphians, at least in my ecclesia and my sphere, didn't really do anything. We taught the truth to people. We'd have lectures and all this, but we didn't get out there and help people in any fundamental way, it seemed to me. Now, I know there are a lot of individuals, and I know a lot of you in the audience do things in your communities on a personal level, and privately, but just as an organization, Christadelphians have not, historically, gotten their hands dirty helping people. Seems to me, anyway. You can argue with me if you want to. But Jesus said, and so I prayed about it. I prayed about wanting something to do. And I know specifically where I made that prayer. It was at the corner of Veterans Parkway and Lincoln Avenue in Bloomington, Illinois. And I won't go into all the details of how beautiful a day it was and everything because I want to end on time. But Jesus did say, go and do likewise. Do, emphasis, do, help people. Soon after that prayer, I got a request to do a video about Christadelphia Meal a Day, and I met Brother Gordon Dawes in Kenya at the Nalanda School for the Physically Handicapped, an incredible place. Brother Gordon was, at that time, the chairman of Meal a Day, and he wanted to split it up into 3 parts. It started in the UK, so the UK group was going to address Africa and Eastern Europe needs. The US and Canada group would address needs in the Western Hemisphere, and the Australian brethren working in the Far East, Australasia. Bruce Parker and Casey Opitz, who are really the chief architects of getting this thing going, and I created Christadelphia Meal a Day of the Americas with the help of Gordon. And then we began thinking about the poorest of the poor. Poverty has different levels of things we learned. So who are the poorest of the poor? Well, in the Western Hemisphere, that is Haiti. A friend introduced me to Haitian brother Esmes Sanval, who wanted to help his country. Meal a Day helped Brother Esmes start a school in Carrefour, Haiti in 2011. Meal a Day and Peace Project have been working together on the Haiti projects, but I want to make Peace Project and our Haiti projects sustainable without relying on meal a day. And I'll explain a little more about that near the end. So I founded the Peace Project in Haiti and made it a 501c3 to address Haiti needs specifically. So that's the difference. Meal a day is South America, Central America, Caribbean, North America, have some things. Peace Project is about Haiti. The Peace Project in Haiti has a number of projects that it oversees. Here's the quick list. 2 schools that Meal a Day started and supports, and then a third one that was started and was run by a friend of ESMAS, is another school director. A vocational school that is training hundreds of people in practical ways to make a living. That's going terrifically. An agriculture support program to help farmers in 3 villages to grow more and better produce for their dinner tables and to sell in the market. You'll find out how extraordinary that is. And we've been doing medical mission trips to remote villages to alleviate suffering and promote good health. We have a base camp now in Carrefour, and it saves hundreds of dollars on hotel and food bills. We used to stay in a hotel. That was nice, but now we're kind of living in the community. It's neat to do that, even though we don't have air conditioning. We have some fans. They're charged up with the solar panels, and it's great to be there. We're set up for visitors with bunk beds. We've got a women's side and a men's side, and they are en suite, so that means each has its own bathroom, although the women's bathroom toilet is leaking as we left this last time, so that needs to be repaired. And the place is big enough that Brother Amos Sherival stays there to keep the lights on, and he has his own room and a bathroom over on the other side there too. So it's a really terrific place. $6,000 a year, I think. We take turns cooking when we're there, and you can get eggs pretty cheap. And we have a lot of eggs. That's my lunch one day, is the 3 eggs on the skillet. My specialty when I go down there is Indian food, but it comes out of a jar. Okay, so we have Indianite. It's Indianite here at the ranch in Tafu. At La Canu. La Canu, our house. And we're cooking up some butter chicken. Is that playing out there through the speakers? Pardon me? Yeah, I thought so. Okay, next sound clip, hopefully you'll hear it better, but you got the idea, right? And that was Chris correcting me on my Creole, or teaching me Creole. We do that a lot down there, because she's terrific. She's really learned a lot of Creole. Me, I can kind of function.
Hello, hi.
Here's Derival.
Hello, everybody.
He likes to play with his food.
What's the word? Say good morning. Say Friday. You are going to fry me. Eat me. I am happy.
Okay, it's all fun and games until somebody gets kidnapped, right, Beth? Okay, enough on that. But anyway, you'll learn more about Derival. He's the best cook of us all. He really is. He's terrific. And he cooks more than the rest of us because he really likes doing it, which is good. But seriously, this base, the WCF hub in Haiti, is very useful, as you'll see in a few minutes. And it's right across the street from our new campus that we'll be moving to in September. So that brings us to schools. Let's talk about them. Meal a Day started its first school in Haiti in 2011 in a small house near an earthquake refugee camp. The earthquake was in 2010, as you may or may not remember, on January 12. And it serves, that school still exists, but not in that location. It serves children from families that wouldn't be able to pay for their kids to go to school. You see some of them there. Let me introduce you to one of them, Ines Romulus. Ines's father was killed in the 2010 earthquake. She lives with her mother and 6 brothers and sisters in this shack on a hilltop. She sleeps on the bed there that's behind her mother in the video. And when it rains, here's what it used to be like. If you can see that very well. Yeah, see the water's pouring through there. They have a pan on the floor. But I did a GoFundMe recently, and a number of you contributed to it to fix the roof. We didn't actually collect enough to really fix the house. And the carpenter, when he went up there to put the tarps on the roof, which we did, at least we got the leak stopped that way temporarily. But he wouldn't get up on the roof because the house is so poorly built, he was afraid it would fall down, literally. So anyway, so we're working on that. We did collect, we have money, a bit of money left over, and we'll be doing a few more improvements on this house. But here now, that was the young Ines in 2011. Here is Ines in blue here about 2 months ago. And then last month is the picture on the right in her school uniform. She had to drop out in 9th grade to have the little girl that you see she's standing with, who's her daughter, Winika. At 21, she's back finishing high school, so she can get a better job in the future. And I brought her up, or bring her up, to illustrate that. Her story is not unusual. Fewer than 30% of kids who start out in kindergarten make it through high school in Haiti. The statistics are awful in terms of how education starts and then just drops off for various reasons. Now, you might be thinking to yourself, I hope you are, how can she come out of that shack, because that's where she still lives, with her 6 brothers and sisters and her mother and her little girl in that tiny tin leaky shack on the top of a hill. How can she come out of the shack looking so good? Well, I'm glad you asked. I'm going to interrupt Haiti for a moment to talk about clothes, okay? That's why it's in parentheses. See, I'm inserting this, Bruce, knowledgeably. This was the first meal a day build in Guatemala. I forget the year. I should have looked that up. It was like, well, I forget. We had 32 people who signed up and went down, and we built 3 houses together under the leadership of Habitat. And on our house, that's the kind of house we built. That's Brother Caleb Zomer there, and standing next to Henry, who's the man who owns the house, along with his little girl and wife who were there working every day. But here's the thing about this picture. It illustrates something, and that's why I took a picture of it. As you can see, it says State Farm Senior Classic, and I used to work for State Farm, so I immediately homed in on that. And I kind of figured out the history of this because I'd heard an NPR report, too, about clothing. And it is that there was probably some golf tournament weekend for agents. They all got together, they all got their fancy polo or Tommy Hilfiger or some really high-quality shirt, well-made, because State Farm doesn't buy crummy stuff. And so but at the end of the weekend, he didn't want it anymore because he didn't feel like he wanted to wear that around. So he threw it in a Goodwill bin. Goodwill takes anything they can't sell locally, rolls it into big bales, huge bales, and they sell it by weight to developing companies, which break it apart and then people there buy clothes, and they take them out. I was looking through my thousands of pictures for a picture of clothes hanging on a wall in a street, just to illustrate, but you see that everywhere in Haiti then. And that's what Nikki will do, is just put the clothes out, and people will come and see if it fits and buy it for pennies on the dollar for what you paid for it or somebody else paid for it, but that's how people make a living down there. Okay, back to school. So my point is, in developing countries, almost all the time, you can't judge a book by its cover. So people may be really poor, but they have decent clothes because they bought it for 50 cents, and it's going to last for years, okay? The other thing about Haiti that I just want to throw in here too, and see, no, I shouldn't do this, but they have a culture of cleanliness and presenting and dressing nicely and pressed and everything. It's quite incredible. It's really neat, I gotta say, because I've been into places in Africa and it's a little different. So back to schools. Peace Project in Haiti now oversees 3 schools. The institution mixed, and mixed just means boys and girls, but you have to have that in the title. Institution Mixed Académie de Petit Génie. French speakers? Little Untitled Geniuses. I don't like that name, but Esmith picked it, so it's his school, fine. The College Mixed Horeb, which is up on a mountain. Meal Today started about 2 years ago and built up there. And the Institution Mixed Passion du Savior. And a couple of those sound like church schools, but they're not. They're secular schools. They just happen to be associated with a church or a pastor, and they like names like that, so they put that on there. But you don't have to go to the church to go to the school. It's just a regular school. There are a couple of exciting things happening with the 2 meal-a-day schools. Now, I show this picture to people. That's our current building. And they say, oh, wow, it looks impressive. And it has served us very well. And it's big. But who knows how much rebar is in there? Who knows how the concrete was made? And in Haiti, they always skimp on the concrete. That's why 250,000 people died in the earthquake in 2010, is because the buildings crumbled because they were just poorly made. So, the Care for Ecclesia meets on the roof up there. You see where the cement blocks are? That WCF paid for building that up there. So there you can see them on a Sunday morning and the Sunday school section over here. So there are a good 125, 140 people that show up on a Sunday and show up for choir practices and Bible classes and all kinds of things in that building on the roof. I was in Haiti a month after the 2010 earthquake happened that, as I said, killed 250,000 people. And there were a lot of big houses. This is shot right after that, that collapsed all over Port-au-Prince, that just fell down. And then I saw in the news in 2017 an earthquake in Mexico City that collapsed a school, killing 26 kids and teachers. I don't know if you remember that at all, but I do. And as I watched it, I said, I don't want that to happen at our school. I don't want to get a call at some point. It says, Brother Steve, come down and help us dig kids out of this big crumbled building. So that motivated me to do something here. What we're doing is putting up steel frame buildings that we ship from the US that are essentially earthquake proof and hurricane hardened. That's the Google Earth shot of it. And here's a little bit of how those 2 buildings came together. And you can see where the WCF hub, that apartment, is right across the street. So it's very convenient, and it's really pleasant in the morning to sit and drink my coffee and look out there and see what's coming on. We still have windows to put in, but actually the bathrooms have been put in, the offices, the tiling. So we'll talk, anyway, it's almost ready to go, and it'll be ready to go in September. Here's how it came together. That's the ecclesia singing. So I learned some new tricks, and it's kind of fascinating, actually, to build those things. Now, the primary function of these buildings is to be a school, but they benefit the Care for Ecclesia, too, because they use it in the off-school hours, like they use the old building now for their meetings and on Sunday and that sort of thing. So it's going to be a real blessing for them. It'll seat 350 people. We've got 350 chairs sitting in a warehouse in Arkansas that we're going to put in a container and get down there for the school to use and the ecclesia. And they'll fill it eventually, and not even eventually. They bring their friends. It's just a limited space at the other place. So it's going to be cool. And we're putting up a 3rd building later this summer. It's due to be shipped from Missouri, where it's manufactured, any minute now, I'm told, or this week, next week, down to Greenbrier, Arkansas. and it'll be loaded in a container like this. That's what the building looks like, 2-story. A vocational school on the first floor and a secondary high school on the second floor. Loaded in a container. That was our container that held that other building, or buildings that you saw, and shipped down there in August. But I think we're going to get 2 containers, going to get another one because we've got all those chairs, and we have a whole bunch of non-perishable food that another company donated for the clinic around the corner that takes care of pediatric and prenatal needs. Some special food for that, which we already shipped half of it down, and then we still got stacks of it in a warehouse in Arkansas. TechServe is the company that is amazing and makes this happen for us. It's a nonprofit in Greenbrier that helps people erect buildings like this all over the developing world for virtually no money outside of the cost of the building, which we pay for, the shipping, and importing duties and that sort of thing. But other ways, they supply all the know-how and labor, and they supply people to go and help you put it up. And I have a new saying now that brought on by this guy. Instead of the patience of Job, I now say the patience of Dale. Dale Jones. This guy is a Christian guy. He's incredible. When you're working in Haiti, it's frustrating because the communication problems. We had a translator who would communicate things, but a lot of it gets lost in translation. Yeah, and so Beth is smiling because, yeah. He is so patient. He would just be amazing. So the patience of Dale is the way I put it anymore. I learned a lot from this guy. Truly remarkable Christian. Okay, so as far as Peace Project's concerned, that's it for building physical things for a while. These 3, once we get that 3rd building up. Now, more important than these buildings, what goes on inside them. Haiti education is notably archaic, and it shoots itself in the foot. If you want to learn more about this, talk to Beth at some point now, because she's really getting into this a lot. There's a lot of memorization and no critical thinking going on. I'm learning how to do that. Here's an example of kind of how backward things are. From the earliest classes, teaching is done in French. Why? Well, because it's our official language, and that's the way we've always done it. You teach them in French. These little kids, they don't speak French. People don't actually speak French in Haiti. Yo parle Creole. They speak Creole. There are movements going on in the country to make Creole the official language and just do things in Creole and forget this French business. Kids have enough of a challenge just learning, so that when you throw on top of that figuring out a foreign language that the class is being taught in, you can kind of imagine that they're always just a little bit lost for a long time, okay? Very strange that they do that, but there you go. We're teaming up with other educators who are working to change the culture in this area. Sister Beth Lansing is a Peace Project board member, and she's spearheading our literacy initiative. She recently retired from 30 years teaching. She has a master's degree in education and special training in teaching literacy. And Sister Chris Berg is another board member who has spent a lot of time observing and getting to know how Haiti education works. And what she's doing there, as it says in the text, she's proctoring the baseline tests that we administered. We're interested in making a significant difference here. We don't want to just keep doing the same old. And you know, the kids are learning how to read. They learn math. They learn. We were actually kind of surprised with some of the things the teachers were doing, Beth's nodding, that were good, but there's a lot of room for improvement here. We need to be able to measure our progress. So last month, we administered a baseline test to all the 1st through 7th graders. Was it 1st through 7th? It was, yeah. And this is a standardized test that other progressive groups are using to improve Haiti's education system. We just wanted to measure where they are now and then follow them and keep testing to see if we are making a difference. We're making plans to take 2 of the school directors to a week-long seminar in October to introduce them to some modern teaching concepts at a community learning center that's on the island of Gonaive in the Haiti Bay. The beauty of this organization, Matinwan, is that it was developed by Haitians for Haitians instead of the blanc. We're the blanc, most of us in this room, the white people. And so, we're hoping our school directors, who are not particular, one of them's not, they're not resistant, but culturally, they do things a certain way, and they think they know the way to do this. So we're just trying to get them to see there's a different, better way. And so we think this will happen when we take them for several days with Matinois. Peace Project began turning the page. I was supposed to say turning the page, but I didn't want to get in there because this is now a different subject. Those were all the 3 schools we're running and what we're doing with them. Peace Project began a vocational school a year ago that's funded by Meal a Day at the moment. Remember the 3rd building we're erecting in a month or 2? That's the building there. That's where the new social professional school will move to, NSPS. It's, is in that old house right now, but they'll move to that lower floor and spread out. This has been a tremendous success. And it's really a natural progression for kids who might finish high school but aren't going to go to college to then learn a trade and get out there and make a living. Though there are not that many companies who are going to hire anybody, but if you can do something like wire things or fix plumbing or whatever, you can go out there yourself and make enough money to support yourself and your family as an independent. The students do pay a subsidized tuition, so they do have skin in the game. But the lower rate makes it possible for more people to get this education than other vocational schools that are around. So we're helping in that way. We have more than 200 adults enrolled at the moment. We've had a graduating class, and now it keeps filling up, so that's great. Some are learning tailoring and dressmaking, which, we don't do much of that in the U.S., the custom sewing, but in Haiti, a lot of it is done. And so see those guys with their pedal sewing machines? Singer still makes pedal sewing machines, new ones. Why pedal? Because there's no electricity here. There may be wires running to the buildings, but the power plant is not delivering electricity. Maybe 2 hours a day, once a week, or maybe every 3rd week. You just live without electricity there unless you got solar panels. And that's probably running off the generator. It's where the lighting or anything comes from for the school. And you can see on the right that the students are designing and making patterns of their own. They stage a fashion show after completing the course to show off what they can do. And it's just really fun. They have music playing and announcements, and they're all the students, all the ladies in the dresses that they have designed and made themselves. It's really pretty impressive, I would say. Tile laying is extremely popular, and there are a lot of women enrolled in tile laying. The class is actually being taught by the woman in blue there on the left-hand side. And we hired 3 top students to tile the new school, that new campus that I showed you. Plumbing is another trade that's being taught. You see one class there. Electrical work is another thing that we're teaching. And refrigeration repair, which in Haiti, refrigerators need to keep running if you've got one. People in their homes don't have them because of electricity, but shops and stores and whatever will have refrigeration or air conditioning of that sort. Okay, turning the page to Peace Project's medical mission trips. We've done 2 of these so far, and depending on our funding and what we get, it costs roughly $10,000 to stage 1 because it goes for several days, and there's transportation, a lot of medications, which cost money down there, and paying these doctors. Pay the doctors $100 a day, the doctors and dentists. We had 2 dentists in the group, and $50 a day for the nurses. Now, when you watch this next short video, these folks are riding in on the motorcycles that you'll see. It's not a great shot, but that's who's on those motorcycles because we didn't have the transportation that we have now. Meal a Day has provided 2 used 4-wheel drive Toyota Prados that we use for the agricultural support projects that you'll hear about and for medical mission trips and just helping us to get around safely. Before I play this, I just want to let you know I didn't do this, and not because I want you to know I didn't do this. I want to just show you what the brother who keeps the lights on for us, Amos Sherival, does video-wise. He's really excellent. Here's the thing, I needed eyes on the ground because I'm not there all the time. And when something happens, it's gonna happen. Like our disaster relief things that we've done. I just send Amos with his camera and I get stuff back that looks like I shot it because I taught him how to do things. So I'm always really happy or amazed, because he's terrific. So anyway, Amos put this together. I was prompted by the fact that there was a scabies outbreak in a couple of towns that were villages that were outside of Carrefour. And so, as Matt said, what makes things different with this is a lot of groups go with medical mission trips, which is terrific, but they typically will have a clinic in the city, like okay, just transportation-wise. So where's the gospel being preached and all this? Well, it's touch and teach, and we'll get to that again in a moment. It's our reputation in the community it just shows that we're concerned about people. And also things like this. The Peace Project Agricultural Support Program, which we're going to talk about next, actually started this way. At the muzzle of a gun. When we first started going to Haiti, we rode in Esma's old beat-up car. It was really unreliable. In 2010, a team of 6 of us had come to work at the school doing eye exams. If you know Carol, Sister Carol now McPhee, Mary D. McPhee, she is an optometrist. She's retired now, just recently, but she volunteered to go down. Well, we had a little problem. Esmath, and we had 5 others of us going down to help with that. Esmath took a wrong turn near the airport, ended up in a bad neighborhood. Our cars were stopped by a gang of 10 men with 5 or 6 guns, and we were robbed. And I had the interesting experience. I'm just saying this because maybe you'll appreciate the end and a little bit about what was going through my head. That I actually was a little resisting a little too much, because really you should just let people take what they want. But my daughter was in the back seat, and I was trying to wedge myself in so that, because we were thinking kidnapping, but kidnappings like now weren't happening then. So it was a different scene. These guys just wanted to rob us. Anyway, so I got punched in the nose and punched in the side of the head. And I'd never been punched in the nose before. And as my glasses flew off, he said, "You're going to think I'm making this up." But I was just thinking, wow, that's what it's like to get punched in the nose as my nose is bleeding. And I'm going, wow, and now I'm going to have to spend the whole week without my glasses. Where are they? I'm looking down. Meanwhile, the guy's tearing my shirt off, trying to get me out of the car. Anyway, I just say it was one of the best life experiences I have ever had. I'm serious, okay? It goes with our classes this morning, because a lot of things came out of that experience that were terrific. Okay, no one was seriously hurt, and we were robbed, and we fumbled our way back and got home. The thing is, we had other contacts in Haiti by then. Miele was helping Pure Water for the World, and the director of that organization, a wonderful woman named Dr. Noelle Fable, that's me talking to her there, helped us out with transportation to get the passports. 2 Canadian passports were stolen that we needed to go home. And she took me aside, and I forgot to put this on words on the screen, so listen carefully. She gave me this piece of advice about Haiti. She said, Steve, you're doing this too cheap. You need your own reliable transportation. You can't ride with Asmath and he doesn't know where he's going and he has a crummy car that stalls at every stop sign, whatever. It was terrific advice. And then she followed it up by connecting me to this man, an American named Lance Durbin. And he's standing there in his electronics firm. He hires 400 Haitians to make small electronics parts. But among other things that he does, he rents vehicles, nice vans with a driver to people like us. So the next time I came back to Haiti, I had a reliable van and a driver named Derival Gertho, who is the guy playing with his food, okay? So he turned out, you see all the connections, you see how this all, it's, yeah, amazing. So over the next couple of years of visits, I got to know Derival. And it turns out he's a college-trained agronomist who also loves teaching. I'm going to risk going an extra minute. This is in my notes. Okay. I was checking out one of the schools. We always visit our schools when we go down there and walk through and make sure things are functioning. Derival, a lot of times, will just stay in the car or sit in the shade or whatever. But this one visit at Wilner at the Passion du Savoir school, I walked back down the hallway, and there's Derival at the board doing math with these 2 students. And he wasn't sitting in the car or just chilling out. He's like working with them. And then later in the car, he said, well, what were you doing? Why were you doing that? He says, well, their teacher didn't show up today. And, you know, I love teaching. So he was just doing algebra with these older kids and working. And, you know, he said, okay, this is cool. So he could never find work in agronomy that he loves to do, which is no surprise in Haiti. But we became friends over the next years, and we hired him to teach kids how to grow things in tires, small space gardening, that they can then take and do at home, growing tomato plants or pepper plants, that kind of thing. While we're talking about driving, and we have Derival on the screen, let me explain why, in the next clip you're going to see, the road is so bumpy. We used to go on the main highway, number 2, which is the red line, straight from the airport across, depends on traffic, maybe 45 minutes. And that's because of traffic. As the crow flies, it's not very far. But it goes directly through Martissant, and you can see what it says there, controlled by gangs. There are 3 gangs in Martissant right now, and they battle it out across the highway. People get killed there every week. And then a gang will take over that highway and stop all the cars and make them pay, or anyway, there are a lot of bad things happen there. So we don't go through Martissant anymore, or very few people go through Martissant, and it's a choke point. It's terrible, especially when you have a container of school stuff that you're trying to get through. We actually paid a gang $1,000 to let that container go through to get it over there. So we go up on the yellow line, up through the mountains, and it takes a lot longer, 3 hours, but it's a lot safer. And Meal a Day supplied a 4x4 Prado, and it actually has windows so tinted you can't even see through the front window to see that there are blancs in there, white people, because we really keep a low profile. About low profiles, I used to post on Facebook all the time when I was down there, and Instagram, but we don't anymore because there's a saying in Haiti, at midnight, every cat is black. And what that means is you don't trust anybody with information, because you never know who knows who or whatever. And so we try to keep a very low profile until we're home and then tell people about what we've been doing. So the van is quite possibly, literally, a lifesaver for us.
Well, when you use the Madison Road, you take your chance, but you cannot take your chance all your life. One day, the chance will go out.
So, I got a hard question for you.
Yes.
Are you ready?
Yes.
Are you going to answer a hard question?
Yes.
You said the only one that can help you is Jesus or God.
Yes.
Yeah, well then why not just offer a prayer and just drive through Martisan and have God and Jesus protect you?
Yes, you pray Jesus to protect you, but you need to take care of your life too. Jesus give you intelligence. Jesus give you intelligence to see the light and the dark.
Yeah. Did you catch that? Yeah, okay. So it was good. That was a great answer. We cheered in the car that, like, wow, what a super answer, because I didn't know what he was going to come up with. What? The answer? Well, he basically says, you know, you heard my question. He said something about we pray to God and Jesus to protect us. So then I turned it around and said, well then, you're praying to God and Jesus to protect you, drive through Martisan. Why don't you do that? And so then he said, well, you know, God isn't going to always protect you. You just don't know what's really going to happen. But, so you pray, he says, and then God has given you intelligence to go another way, to use your head. And so that's what we do down there. We think it through. We avoid places that we shouldn't be as much as we possibly can. He's terrific. Yeah, more on Daraval. Here's the Peace Project Agricultural Support Program. After the school thing that he was doing, which he still does, he proposed the PPAS, Peace Project Agricultural Support. And he's doing an amazing job. It's incredible. Let me tell you about Daraval. He now visits 3 villages during the week, Caduit, Dufresne, and Prasi, and he helps 70 households. He holds classroom lectures, and then he works with farmers in their fields. And he loves teaching. He loves farming. He teaches them about terracing, soil erosion, or preventing that, proper pesticide, fertilizer use. If they don't come to classes, this guy is so organized. On his computer, he has a spreadsheets, and he takes, I forgot this one great picture. He takes attendance at every meeting, and half or more of these farmers cannot write their own name because they're illiterate, but they're smart people. And so they'll put their fingerprint, ink and fingerprint, to show that they were there, because if they're in class, then he gives them tools and seeds and help, and if they don't show up for class, he looks at it and, sorry, you didn't come. He's terrific. He's so organized. He did it himself. So he distributes quality seeds and simple tools to them and shows them how to use them that we supply to him. And just today I got this WhatsApp, because he'd been in Prasi, and it says, I explained them. They are a team of agricultural support. I am the coach. In the future, each team member should be a coach of the rest of the communities. He's great. He's teaching people and turning them into teachers. Terrific guy. He can drive the Prado to Caduit and Dufresne because they're on the road, but he has to walk. See that road? And here he's demonstrating for me his walk to get to Prasi, and he does this every week, okay? At least once a week, sometimes twice a week, to get there to teach classes at Prasi. He's really incredible. Many of the farmers are hardworking women, as you see here, and they have their plots and they have their signs that he came up with this idea. He wanted to mark out everybody's field so that when he took pictures, he could document that was the same shot, the same field for us. Peace Project, funded by Meal a Day, helps these people grow more and better crops. Meal a Day just bought 2 of the village's corn mills, Dufresne and Caduit. Prasi is up that road and whatever, so getting it there is going to be interesting, but they'll get it there when we buy them one. They used to have to travel long distances and pay to get their corn ground, but now they can actually make money grinding other villages' corn as well as their own. So, it turns things around a little bit. Beth and Chris and I were just there last month, as you see in that far right picture, and we were really impressed that they had built sheds for the mills on their own. We didn't say that, we just gave them things, and both towns had built a lockable shed to keep it protected from weather. It's just like, yeah, this is great. Okay, just a moment to explain a bit about these 2 organizations. Let me catch my breath. I get too excited about this stuff. Meal a Day is distinctly aimed at Christadelphian donors, at you, okay? It's our group's collective help to people in need, right? My goal for the Peace Project is to develop a donor base outside of Christadelphia. Now, I know I have donors from Christadelphians, and I'm happy to take your money, but the real focus is to try to grow this outside of our organization, so that contribute a meal a day, and then I'm trying to reach out to outside Christadelphia. Because I don't want to compete with Meal a Day, Agape in Action, or Christadelphian mission programs. So maybe you're thinking, where's the Bible teaching in this? Well, the Peace Project and Meal a Day are not directly preaching organizations. They are a way that good works in the name of Jesus are done in places that can use a lot of help, as you have seen. It's an example of touch and teach. We've been doing Bible conferences there since 2013. John Pope, well, you see the list there, and a couple pictures, several pictures. 3 of those people are in this room tonight who volunteered their time, went down, did a weekend-long Bible conference. And I didn't put the list together, but there's a host of other volunteers who went down to help Chris Berg with the children's classes too. So we do a whole Bible school for the kids while their parents are upstairs in the sessions with our featured speaker. The thing is, we've developed a good reputation in Carrefour, and we've made a lot of contacts with local standard issue Christian churches. And 4 of those churches are asking for Bible conferences now with no borders on the subject matter. I've made that clear to them. So what the Christadelphians, they're not called Christadelphians there, but they follow the BASF, as a matter of fact. That's what their printed statement of faith is. Said, you know what Asmath teaches about Trinity and the list. And they go, yeah, but fine, come on in, present. So we'll see how we've already done one. I've done one down there. They just like Bible talks. They don't have electricity. They don't have TV at home. Literally. They don't have lights at night unless they've got a candle thing or a lantern or whatever. And so they're very spiritual people. They love coming out to sit and listen. And you can tell, even though it's 90 degrees in the afternoon, by the time you get close to none, they are absolutely in tune with the speaker, because if somebody makes a joke, everybody laughs, and there are notes being scribbled frantically, and it's just a great environment of learning. So we have this opportunity to go to 4 churches and make presentations. But Bible conferences, we're going to now try or go virtual with them because of the gang danger. I don't really want to take anybody down there at the moment. We did a proof of concept thing with Brother Craig Blewett in South Africa. That's Craig on the screen back there. And you say no electricity? Well, yeah, that's our solar panels on the roof are enough to run that. Craig Blewett gave us 2 sessions from South Africa. It's 4 o'clock his time and 9 o'clock in the morning our time. There's our translator, Obed, in the foreground, who's absolutely terrific find. One of those connection things where we need a really good translator. This guy grew up in a missionary home with a lot of American missionaries coming and staying for a long time. So his English is really terrific. And his understanding of the Bible. So he kind of knows where you're going when you're talking about things. So what we did was invited leaders of 4 local churches to a test at the WCF Hub. That's what you see there, about 20 people. There was a lot of question and answer, which worked perfectly with Obed going back and forth to Craig and the crowd. So we're planning on an August 20th conference right now with Brother Dave Jennings, who's going to present at Will Nord Pierre's church. So there will be 150 people there listening to Dave, so it'll be interesting to see how that all works out. So this was just to see if it worked, and it was a good class. But then the other thing that we're doing is this. Asmath and his church leaders can teach people the truth without our help, okay? I just want to make that clear. I once asked Asmath to talk to me about baptisms and what they go through for that. And it would rival a lot of Christadelphian ecclesias in terms of minutia and whatever. But they every Sunday afternoon they have a class of baptism candidates who are taught. I looked for that picture, I couldn't find it. But they sit there and he says he doesn't turn them down, but he keeps them going in class, more people in any given class than he baptizes at any given time, because he says you should just keep learning. So he says, Brother Steve, if we didn't teach them the truth and we didn't care about this, I could have 5,000 people baptized. He says, no, we make sure they know what they're getting into and what they know. Here's the thing with our Bible conferences. We are the draw, if you will. People from other churches will come to hear a Bible presentation from an outside teacher. And what we've done is taken God's master plan, which was a correspondence course developed in South Africa, and translated into Creole and French. And then we get people to sign up at the conferences, and that way we get their contact info. And we have a committee at the ecclesia then that will follow up with them, give them the correspondence course, grade it, and make a friendship and that sort of thing. So that's what we do and are going to be doing a lot of, Lord willing. Okay, remember that robbery. The Haitians in the ecclesia were sure we'd never be back. And when I showed up, they were surprised, to say the least. But I had a problem, okay? I think we all have the same problem, maybe once I explain it to you. If Jesus is real, then what he said in Matthew 25 is real. And I kept thinking about it. Am I going back? Am I going back? And I was sweating bullets, literally just sweating, on the plane when I was flying back into Port-au-Prince the next time. I went down by myself just to check out the van now, with Derival as the driver. How is this all going to work? See if we could keep going. And so many things have worked out that I can't get over the feeling over the years that Jesus wants things done in Haiti. It's just the way it is. So we need you to help us. We're switching things up a little bit in the organization. I am moving to founder from chairman, and I'm focusing on fundraising. I'm still going to be going to Haiti regularly and doing these Bible, all this stuff, anything. It's still in totally. But I'm going to share something with you now that isn't in my notes either, because Todd talked about it. There were 5 people that I knew of who were in their 60s, except for Bill Farrer, who was 71 or 2, I think, who died last year. And I'm 70. And a really good friend of mine, 62, running, kind of like what Bill was doing, exercising, but died running with his wife next to the Mississippi River in St. Paul. And I love this guy. He was the first guy I ever hired when I was a manager. And Paul Lindelblatt. These people died, and that's sticks with me. And so I'm 70, and I want to make sure Peace Project just keeps chugging away. So Chris is a super chairman. I think politically correct, she's a chairman anyway, the woman chairman. Because she's so much more organized than I am and gets things done. And she's great with these Haitians, isn't she, Beth? She's tough as nails. It's great. Not that I don't know. When you're dealing with people, you have to just be firm. She's great. Knows Creole. Beth is the new secretary replacing Chris. Our treasurer, Larry Nadalink, who got married recently. I forget her last name. Anybody know that? I didn't look to find it. And then Rachel Johnson, my daughter, is the director. So that's our team at the moment. Here's what I need help with. Marketing. I need to build an email list, a big email list of non-Christadelphians, of just however people in companies build email lists. I don't know. Somebody out there, one of you, knows how to do this, because you do this probably for a living, or you've done it. So if you would share that information with me, that would be fabulous, if you can talk with me about it. Because what we want to do is find 2,000 people willing to give $10 a month regularly to help us help Haitians. That'll be $240,000 annually, and that's going to allow us to run our programs for the foreseeable future just with what we raised from Peace Project.